What are early signs of a toxic relationship? When they do something that makes you uncomfortable, and they get mad at you for expressing your discomfort. When you don't feel like you can actually speak about your problems since they will take it personally or won't bother listening. All taking and no giving. Subtly insulting you for their own pleasure. Money problems and/or addiction. Trying to control you. Giving you silent treatment. Trying to alienate you from your friends. Making you choose between them and your family/career/passion. Trying to police your social media. Pressuring you into sexual activities. When they're emotional when you do leisurely things that don't involve them. Sir, this is a relationship, I need some space, damn it. When they seem to argue with you a lot, and make petty things into a huge dispute. It's stuff like this that makes you realize how much of a toxic relationship you're in. Also when the only time they seem like they're not arguing is when they need/want something from you. When they start isolating you from your friends and wanting to know what you've been doing, or where you've been, all the time. Or making you feel bad for not being with them. Love bombing. Love bombing is a classic emotional abuse tactic and the abuser often goes hard into it early in the relationship, to get you hooked. Let's say you've been seeing someone for 3 weeks and they surprise you with tickets to an exotic vacation. Or an expensive gift. They'll also usually profess their affection for you often and kind of exaggerated. Lots of "no one else has ever made me feel like this" kind of stuff. That way you get attached quickly and form positive perceptions of this person, so that when the abuse starts you A, don't leave because you know they're good underneath it, and B, they can weaponize it against you as a guilt trip. That's not to say every fast-paced relationship is emotionally abusive, mind you, every relationship works at its own speed and some are faster than others. But it's a reason to be cautious. Especially if it's an early relationship for you, abusers tend to favor inexperienced targets. Don't be afraid to say you're not ready for something, or that it's happening too fast for you to keep up with. In healthy relationships the other person will understand. When you have to psych yourself up to before you see them. When you have to map out regular conversations beforehand in your head to prevent an explosion. Controlling behavior. It can start out as seeming like they are only looking out for your being by always having to be with you or asking who is on the phone/hanging right next to you when you use it. Showing signs of being hurt that you are talking to, let's say your best friend, and not talking to or hanging out with them and then getting mad at you for it. You are having a conversation and all of a sudden they take offense at some misperceived slight. Then they blow it up out of nowhere. Then go on and on and on until you're in a fight and now you are defending yourself for some non-existent bullshit. From my own experience, if you begin to question, no matter how tentatively or quietly, whether a relationship is unhealthy or if a partner is controlling/abusive, then you already know the answer. That is the main thing I would say. Because as has already been said, the abuse happens gradually and it is hard to pinpoint where it started, but it gradually becomes more normal to the person being abused as it increases. And the abuser will gaslight and make you doubt and question everything. So the second it enters your mind that it is even a possibility, trust that thought. And monitor any further behavior through that lens, rather than giving the benefit of doubt. Also, if you begin to feel like guilt is the strongest emotion guiding your relationship. Guilt for being late, for being too friendly to other men, for saying the wrong thing when he is stressed, for not answering texts quick enough, for leaving them to go out with friends, for having fun without them. Guilty for anything and everything. Chances are that's exactly how they want you to feel. If there is a pattern of them disliking your friends and family, and probably them all disliking your partner in return too, and constantly making out like they care more about you than those people do. Jokes at your expense. Particularly when they're about something that they know will be hurtful/damage your self-esteem. Slightings or put-downs, that will be followed with them only joking, don't be so sensitive. In addition to many of the more obvious ones here. 1. not apologizing and not taking responsibility for their actions. 2. Always constructing a narrative that absolves them of responsibility in any issue. Both of these indicate an unwillingness to admit fault in any way that bruises their ego. On a small level, it's not "sorry I made us late because I lost track of time," it's "well, you should have called me to make sure I had eaten before we got close to the time to leave, and why does the extra half hour matter anyway?" In my experience, this eventually turned into every issue, big or small, being 100% my fault no matter what, plus a dramatic rewriting of history to save her ego after the fact. Off the top of my head: limiting who you're friends with, ESP of opposite sex, tracking your location and getting in trouble if you're out too late or veered away from a certain location, not staying in constant communication via text or social media. Your SO sees you active on social media but is hurt if you don't respond to them immediately. Gaslighting / they're always a victim, everything is your fault no matter the circumstance. One-sided rules, i.e. take a combination of anything I said above but it doesn't apply to them. Example: I'm allowed to have friends, but then they select your friends, constantly going through your things without permission, especially your phone, having passwords to your accounts and reading through your stuff or making changes on your behalf. Running hot and cold. 1 minute being all lovey-dovey, then being cold and distant. Massive red flag. Asking questions about previous relationships in seemingly good faith, then throwing that information back in your face later on. Constantly questioning you about your whereabouts, and implying that you've been up to no good when you've been hanging out with friends or even family. Not really complimenting you unless it's masked in a criticism or insult. Sabotaging your relationships by starting fights or calling your friends a bad influence. Basically, when you have a partner who you can trust to have your back or best interest in hard times, then it's time for you to move on, period. Don't wait for them to change, they won't. Definitely control. But how to tell that? They will take an overactive interest in your reactions to things. They won't take no for an answer. It might be in a cute way at first, but it still is not taking no for an answer. Insisting you go along with something, no matter how harmless it might seem, or insisting you will enjoy something. Pretty soon, if you let that slide, they will be controlling various things. Where you can go, who you can talk to or see, who you can look at, even. Maybe not saying it outright, "Don't go there, stay home, why are you looking at them?" but acting out if you do things like that and they don't like it. Having a temper tantrum if you aren't exactly the way they think you should be. And of course the trick is, there is no pleasing them. They are always upset about something you did. It isn't only about jealousy but also friendships, family too. And then if you give into that, there will be a new level. Bit like a video game, only not leveling up, leveling down, into hell. So once they get you to focus solely on them, now you are boring, or you did this wrong, did that wrong, if you say anything you talk too much, if you don't talk enough, or you laugh too much, or your cooking is bad, you name it, it's wrong. Pretty soon you forget who you are and what makes you happy. Worse, you forget that it matters if you are happy. Abuser will often pour it on too thick with romance and compliments in the beginning. That is another way to control you and it won't last. No one can keep that up. If someone sweeps you off your feet, remember what comes next is a fall.